and welcome to Unit 5 Advertising Campaign Planning. Media considerations are what we'll be discussing today. Media or communication. And communication, as the communication process happens, let us see in a similar fashion in the same layout structure of communication process, wherein the advertising campaign planning will have an intervention of the media and what kind of strategies should the advertisers consider from the media perspective in order to reach to the target audience. Okay, just to recap, communication process. The sender, the receiver at the two ends as source and destination. They are in a transaction with an intention. Intention or the purpose of communication, and they create a message by encoding. How they encode it? By the advertising design on a certain platform in a medium, either face to face or digital platform or broadcast medium, over a channel, the various tools that we are using in order to carry the message up to the consumer or prospect. And then the message, how that is designed. So the media considerations have to be done in order to enable and ensure that the right message reaches the right target audience at the right time in the right spirit, uh, with the right objective. Okay, so objectives of advertising here. Now, what are the objectives? Like the objectives of communication, that is to inform, to persuade, to build relations, and to entertain. We here have similar approach by advertisers in framing their objectives. One is to inform, the second is to persuade, and the third is to retain the customers that they are having. Retention will be done by reminders. Okay. So when it comes to the advertisers informing the target audience, what do they inform about? We have been discussing this for the last 3 4 days, the last 4 sessions. Well, brand awareness, brand positioning, or the purpose of the product or the benefits of the product or services by the particular sponsor or the product or service provider. That is the brand, how good the brand is, how far the brand reaches, how best the brand satisfy the need, and the brand exposure. And also product information, like mentioned already, features, benefits, the advantages of the products. So all this would be informed to the customer for his or her awareness, and also generate an interest in them to look further, to draw more information, evaluate it so as to make a purchase decision. Okay. So you also get the service info, you also get the brand availability information when the advertiser informs about the product or service. The second is to persuade. Uh, the advertiser encourages the prospect or the existing customer to try a product or a new product or a variant, and after trials they persuade them to buy the product. Okay, so persuasion is about trying, buying, also, like, to form a brand image and associate themselves with the brand, so that they get that satisfaction thoroughly and develop a certain favorable attitude towards the brand. Why do we want this? If the target audience develops a certain affiliation or interest in the brand, The further new launches or variants of the brand and the product or the service can be easily reached to the customer, or you can convince them. You do not require too much of pressure or attempt or force in order to make the customer act, that is buy your new product, right? And the third is the advertiser tries to remind or reinforce the customer's impression about the product, that they be convinced that whatever need it fulfilled and the satisfaction they derived out of the product or service was intact as intended and delivered by the provider. Okay. They also reassure the brand promise, right? Whatever the brand has promised to deliver, so it has delivered or not. They also here convince and get the conviction that their decision was right. Okay, they remind the brand vision as well, so that if the customer by themselves is interested in a certain variant of the product or a certain change or improvement in the service, can always seek from the provider, and possibly they come up with a new product or a variant. uh, Reminders are also done to keep the brand, the product, the service on the top of mind recall of the customer. And it is also done to eliminate competition. The moment a particular brand or service is successful, a product is successful, competition sneaks in. And to keep any kind of a competition, take away the market share, these reminder advertisements or the reinforcement advertisements do a great deal in keeping the customer and their loyalty with them. So the customers stay loyal, and also they would be supporting the organization, the company, the brand, the product by their positive word of mouth. Now, this is how the advertising campaign enables the communication to build the relations and to keep the relations. Now, if we look at this from the medium point of view, right? So, what are the various media advertising agencies, advertisers, and the campaign utilize in order to reach the customers? One is the print media. You can be the newspaper, it can be the magazines, certain articles, uh, it can be brochures. These are all the print media. Then comes the broadcast media, the TV, the radio, or into the broadcast media. Then we have outdoor, like we have hoardings, we have point of sales, like the danglers or the posters or the banners. Then we have those flags. We also have display boards and product displays. We can even have wraps, and sometimes the brand promotions and advertising is also done, or the promotions are also done through the marketing collaterals, like even the carry bags, right? So all these are the outdoor, are come under the outdoor media. The advertising reaches the customers. Then we come to the fourth media, that is the digital, where the advertiser approaches the prospects and customers through emails, through the websites, through the social media, and whatnot, right? Okay. Now, let us now look at the advertising campaign planning in the same perspective of effective communication, and understand how and what kind of media considerations are dealt and how are they dealt. To make things simpler, let us approach this in the 5WH mode, and understand the advertising campaign better. Okay. Now, why do they have to select a certain media uh, in order to ensure that the advertising message reaches the customer? Now, what do they do here? Either they go for a short term goal or a long term goal. Short term goals are seasonal promotions, okay? Uh, and these long term goals will be the continuous message which reaches the customers at an interval frequently in order to keep the customer and his or her attitude towards the brand positive for a longer time. Okay. Now, sometimes you may have to change the market base, like from a particular audience, you may have to change to a different audience so that your market share increases. So, now the why basically answers the short and long term plans or goals of the advertiser. Next, who? Who is it that they are trying to reach? Like I said, if they want to expand their market and cater to another set of audience, now they can go with an advertising campaign. Uh, the primary and secondary audiences for the campaign have demarcated, and then they need to be approached. Who it will reach and how often do they have to be exposed to this particular advertisement, which either informs or persuades about the product. Now, also who it is relevant for. Now, if we consider this why and who, and look into an example that is the Cadbury dairy milk. Now, there was a taboo that chocolates are for kids, but uh, nothing, and Cadbury's has certainly figured out that it is also the adults who enjoy having a chocolate. And they have come across adults who have even devoured an entire bar of chocolates. And there are people who even skip a break, a meal of the day and devour an entire chocolate. Now, this kind of information has suggested them that it's not just the kids, but also the adults enjoy having chocolate. Okay, so the marketing objective, the why here is to find the new users, and these new users be informed about having a chocolate is okay regardless of age, right? So the adults to eat chocolate. So what happened? They required now a target audience shift from kids to include adults as well. So the why and who is answered here. So in that advertisement that came in the year 1996, a cricket stadium where the cricketer, the batsman hits a sixer, and from the audience, a lady jumps onto the ground and dances around and enjoys that moment of hitting a sixer and runs to the player and shares that chocolate. So adults also can have chocolates. Okay, the grown-up men and women can have chocolate. So now, what is it that they want to communicate? What to say? How to say it? Now, this is like the uh, marketer defines what to say, and the advertiser defines how to say it. Okay, the agency defines how to say it. Over several experiments, they come up with the right way of communicating this message. The key success aspect or the outcome of the campaign also needs to be decided. So here, what happens in the Cadbury advertisement? It is expressing joy having chocolates. Okay, so express your joy having chocolates. So you celebrate with a chocolate. So you are joy, you have a chocolate. You have a chocolate, you become joyous. So this is how they coined the message. Now when? So when to launch the campaign, when to air it, okay, or when to print it, and how it needs to be reached to the target audience. Usually, a brand building campaign requires a high decibel. We are talking about the 70s, 80s, and the 90s when TV broadcast is the best means of reaching a mass audience. So the high decibel TV ads were preferred so that they reach the maximum audience. Now, the last question, how? Now, how do they reach? What are the various formats? What are the various channels they need to use? How do they launch the TV plan? Like what times it needs to be aired? So all this is to be decided while creating that beautiful advertising message. So when we talk about this, how we reach the audience, the advertisers may prefer what we call the ATL, BTL, or TTL. ATL, BTL, TTL stand for above the line, below the line, and through the line. Now, what are these? Now, the various types of advertising can be preferred. Now, TV advertising, radio advertising, digital advertising, or say print advertising. So, now all this can form a part of the campaign. So, what all come under ATL or above the line advertising? Largely broad based, and they reach the like I said, the higher decibel is what we get through the broadcast medium. So the TV, newspaper, radio, magazines, outdoor, that is the billboards or say the hoardings, all these are above the line. Even ads that are played on the cinema screens, the large screens. So these are all above the line. Now, what is the advantage of this? Like I said, they reach a maximum audience in one attempt, right? Okay. Now, what are below the line advertisements? Now, below the line advertisements usually are more of an interactive one, more of a person to person one, and they are persuasive, right? So here conversion takes place. So what happens here is they are actually directed towards a specific target, unlike the above the line advertising, which has got a general audience. I mean, a larger audience, a certain group of audience, but below the line is more to a specific audience. So you know whom to give it. You cannot advertise something which is only available in the northern India and not available in the southern India. If you are going for, I mean, above the line, because the product is not available there, right? There are plans to launch the product in the southern hemisphere. Then the initial broadcast ads will be good enough. Now, after that launch in a nationwide, and if the products are launched in phase wise, and first they are launched in the northern hemisphere, then in the northern hemisphere, we need to go with the below the line advertising, where we may have sponsorships, or trade shows, or events, displays at the shop, like point of sales, or you may have certain schemes or offers or demonstrations. All this can be done in the particular region where the product is readily available. So, in the other part of the country where they are made aware through the broadcast medium is only information sharing, which is the above the level, above the line. Uh, advertising, and below the line advertising is more of conversational, we can say, and conversion oriented or conversion focused. uh, at times, in order to have a 360-degree presence or exposure of the product and or services or brands to the customers, you may attempt both the above the line and below the line simultaneously, and we call this through the line, right? So you may go for, I mean, the ATL and BTL activities are launched together, and like you may even prefer cookie based leads or cookie based ads. So on the digital platform as well, you will be launching certain scrolls or say like pop-ups and other various means of reaching your target customers. Okay. Uh, Let us now see, keeping in mind the communication process is that's the background where we are working. And here I insist that you have this communication process at the back of your mind, because on one side we have the sender or the advertiser creating and creating the message in a certain format and is trying to deliver over a platform to the customer or the prospect who is the receiver. So let us imagine the receiver and the processing of the information of the message, processing of the message at one end, and the advertiser encoding the message on the other side. So let us understand the consumer first. How does the consumer interpret the message, and in which stage of his life cycle the consumer is at that moment when the advertiser is actually planning the campaign. Okay, so the customer becomes aware about the product or service or brand or availability or the location where the service or product is available, and the brand as having the potential to meet the need the customer has, right? So the customer has a need, and this need can be met best by the advertiser's product. So this is the awareness. So the customer is now in the awareness stage, and this is when the advertiser has to come up with um, a campaign plan where he intends to inform and educate the customer about the product, its benefits, its availability, advantages, everything. Now, the customer can then move on from awareness to consideration stage, where the customer will be evaluating this product and alternate products or services available to meet his need. Okay, so the customer actively searches for alternatives, considering the product in the advertisement flashed to him at the moment, and makes a decision. So, is considering our product. Now, this is when the frequency has to increase, and the customer is exposed to the brand and the product more often, more frequently, and he would now evaluate the advertisement and the message more thoroughly, because he is at the peak of his attention levels. The customer then moves to a third stage, which is the decision making stage. So the customer either tries or buys or recommends the product to someone, right? So the customer makes a purchase decision, choosing the product advertised, that is your product or service, over that of the competitors. So now it becomes easy for the customer to decide which product to take. And if your advertisements have communicated the right message, then you hit it. Okay. The next stage is what we call the retention. Retention, or the customer be with us, remain with us. make repeat purchases, and gradually turn out to be a loyal customer. So the customer at this point interacts with the product. That means he uses the product. He evaluates further to what level does the product meet and satisfy his requirements, forming opinions for repeat purchase, for opinions for a long-term use, or also like recommend it to others. So the customer actually tries to evaluate and figure out the value of the product and its quality, and be convinced about the product. So the customer loyalty is actually initiated in this retention stage, and finally the customer moves on to the fifth stage, that is the advocacy stage, where he is highly impressed by the product, believes totally this is the right product, and he advocates about the product. He gives positive reviews. He recommends to people. In a way, he also gives us leads for higher market share. Okay, so at this point, the word of mouth promotions work best. So we know what stage the customer is in. So we have understood the consumer thoroughly. If you remember, the first stage of campaign planning is to understand who our audience is and in which stage they are. We will have more thorough understanding of our audience through several steps. Well, we have also mentioned earlier about segmentation, targeting, and position. That is when we are trying to understand our prospect and customer much better. So now let us look at the sender or the advertiser who is framing the message. Now, uh, the first thing the advertiser considers is reach. How do I reach my target audience in the most successful manner? So, and why do they have to reach? The objective has to be very, very clear here. So, the reach is to build awareness and have maximum visibility and exposure of the product, brand, service to the customer. Uh, Here, the reach has, the media consideration, like we said, the advertiser has to decide whether he has to reach offline or online or both. Okay. Which media should they prefer? Okay. Then the vehicle, is it a website, or is it some kind of a social media, or something like the Instagram handle or the LinkedIn handle? So which one should they opt in order to reach maximum consumers or prospects? Okay. Now, uh, we can consider this like, uh, if you are advertising a sports product, not necessarily that IPL is the platform, occasion where you would be advertising. Uh, Very likely that those who frequent to an IPL match are the same audience. So it may not be as successful, because it will certainly reach them, but then it is reaching the same target audience again and again. So here you may think about an alternate media, so that you touch upon various other new customers. Okay. The second is act, uh, where the advertiser enables the media to have an interaction with between the brand and the consumer, right? They Here the advertisers also enable this interaction so as to generate leads. Data analytics certainly help them to figure out and filter out the right customers, and thereby draw a set of leads and keep the sales funnel full, right? Now, ads here actually persuade. When the advertiser, having reached the customers, now prefers to act in a manner that the ads persuade the prospects and consumers to interact with the brand further. Okay. How do they interact? Well, depending upon the media used, it can be a code, it can be a salesperson who would be giving a demonstration to them, or there might be a display of the products for the customers to get a feel of the product, the taste of the product, maybe a feel of the product. Okay. So they encourage for the next action, that is to purchase, either to buy or to make a commitment to buy. And whenever they are making a buying decision, they need to prefer our product which is advertised. The third is the conversion. Now, advertisements attempt to convert the prospect into the customer, and also retain these customers. So the conversion to sale, online or offline, need to happen. So what do they do? Just when the customer is interested in the product, there will be a certain there will be a certain interaction generated where the customer shares some of his data to remain connected. So that is when they share their email, and also they share certain personal information, and based on this information, the advertiser can even go for a very customized message. Okay. Well, in case we are moving from the action to final conversion, the action, that is, they made a decision to prefer this product or brand, and now they have to buy the product, and the real conversion happens only when the transaction happens. So they would initiate an e-transaction if it is an online, through the e-commerce platforms, and get that customer into their customer base. Okay. And the last step here the advertiser does is to keep them engaged. Now, the ad generates engagement between brands and consumers in order to ensure a long-term relation. And they do this by soliciting reviews, by soliciting feedback. They also ask for referrals. You must have several times suggested your friends from your contact list who the company, who the company or the advertiser would send some promotional material, and you in turn might get some freebies or points or coupons in lieu of suggesting them the leads, uh, or a future discount coupon may also be in store for you if you are suggesting them leads. So advertisers here are trying to keep the customer engaged. So they use various media in order to create a certain message with a certain objective, in order to reach to the right customer as desired by them, and meet the customer's expectations, needs, or demands. Okay. Let us now discuss the role of media in campaign planning. Now, again, here I would like to go with the steps in the advertising campaign planning simultaneously, like the media considerations in each of these steps. So, be with me and listen to the deliberation. So far as the steps of campaign planning are concerned, we have 7 steps. Let me first tell you what these 7 steps are. Then we move on to each of the step in detail. Well, different books may give you different, I mean, um, content. But here, let us go with this. The first step is to evaluate the advertising opportunities. Advertising opportunities, in a sense, we just discussed the stage in which the customer is. Is he in the awareness stage? Is he in the action stage? So, what stage the customer is in? Based on it, we are going to see the opportunity and frame an advertising message accordingly. So the first step is to evaluate the advertising opportunity. The second step is to define the target group. Who are we trying to reach? The third step will be to formulate a message by setting the advertising goals. So we need to set that advertising goal and frame that frame that purpose of communication, right? Then we go with the allocation of budget for that campaign. And once the budget is decided, you then go for formulation of the media and the creative strategy, so that the return on the investment you have done for this or the promotional activity will be most beneficial or optimized. After the formulation of the message, we go for a pre-testing of the advertisement or the promotion that we have planned. And if it requires any improvisation, we do it and finally launch it. And the last stage is evaluation, right? So usually you may go for, sometimes you may go for a pre-launch evaluation and post-launch evaluation, so that you can get better understanding of how this particular advertising campaign has impacted on the customer's behavior, that is buying, right? Okay, let us go to each of these steps in detail. The first step, that is evaluating the advertising opportunities. So we need to ascertain and understand the root cause of advertising, that is the need of the customer. Here we can say, like, we also have a need. So what is our need here? To generate a demand, or to communicate that the product is available. That is the generate, you generate demand, you generate leads, right? You have an objective. Now you certainly are communicating to the target audience to tell them what is it that you are offering, but at the same time you have your own objective. So your objective is to generate demand, generate leads. It can be like, you have an intention to differentiate your product or service from that of the competition, so that the customers prefer you. Okay. So these are the objectives that you need to evaluate. Uh, you then move on to the second step, that is defining the target group. So here you may have to know and narrow down who your customer is and understand your customer better from the information that you need to gather, the demographics, the geographical location of your target customer, the psychographic character, personality traits of your customer, right? Psychographic and behavioral traits of your customer. You would also understand, in the psychographic, you try to understand the values, the attitude of your customer, and the lifestyle of your customer, so that you can depict those images which your product or brand would promise them. Okay, so that's the reason why you need to define your target group. Uh, you may also understand the need of your customer, and based on the customer's need, you will be framing your communication, or you'll be designing your advertising campaign. How many times do the customer has to be exposed to this message in order to um, make it impactful. If it is awareness, how many times do they have to be exposed? If it is like conversion, the numbers should be higher. I mean, the customers should be exposed more number of times. So you need to know your customer. Where is the customer? When is the customer available to your message, open to your message, and get that exposure to your advertisement or communication. Now, the third stage, this is like setting the advertising goal. So, the overall objective of the advertiser and the advertising campaign, like building the buzz for the product or the service or the brand. It can be something like the how do you build the reputation or the brand value or brand identity. That could be a goal. And also like to me to understand the brand's micro and macro environments, right? So based on all this, you would be creating the message. So what are the media considerations here? You need to check like the reach. The number of people viewing your advertisement, higher reach actually requires higher costs. So now, what would you prefer, and what are your options available, and what are the, the options may be many, but then your affordability also has to be checked. So you need to see like, you need to estimate, and based on the estimate, you need to uh, prepare your campaign for the number of exposures you would be doing. That is the frequency. So how many exposures should the same audience have within the campaign period, so that the objective is met? Okay. uh, but the audience may not, if you keep on showing the same things, there's a chance that the audience may even get bored. Now, in order to avoid any kind of a, what do you say, like a creative fatigue by the customers for the repeated exposures, you need to plan the intervals in such a manner that it is very impactful and effective, while it establishes your brand in their mind. At the same time, it doesn't become an obsession. So you need to, in that case, prefer multi-channel instead of one medium. That is, broadcast medium alone is not sufficient. If the person comes across the same thing on the TV again and again, no wonder why they would swap channels, right? They will miss out on advertisement. So instead of repeating the same advertisement again and again on the same medium, you can prefer multiple channels and vehicles, so that the customer also gets certain change in the presentation, yet recalls and connects to the communication you are making. Well, now the media consideration, we will have to see like what are the different options available. One is owned media, the second is paid media, and the third is earned media. Okay. What is this owned media? They have their own website. They have their own people who carry the messages to the customers, the promotions that they make. Now, the brand's website or the brand's social media handles like Instagram, LinkedIn, or the Facebook handle as well. Now, these are all managed by them. The content is built by them. The content is customized by them. The content is in their control. So they may even go with some blog posts to generate that kind of a, warm up to the customers, and then come up with a product. So this is completely in their own hands, and it obviously is not so very expensive. Okay, the company may have their own mobile app, So all these are owned by them and managed by them. The emails they initiate from their uh, own portal. All these are owned media. They may go for paid media like advertise in the Google pages, so Google ads, where it comes at a cost. Then there are display ads where they have to spend more money and some agency does it for them. There can be social media ads also, like the media charges for airing them or say hosting them. Then we have these influencer partnerships where the company has to reward the influencers in a way, and that is cost to the company. And also like sponsored contest sponsored content, like I'm happy with a certain brand and I would prepare. I mean, I'm so happy using that product. I mean, prepare a video and I mean, put it on the website. Now, this is what is we call user generated content, which comes under the earned media. So the earned media, besides the users making their own videos or say pictures and putting it into maybe Pinterest or say other social media, is basically like a testimonial. It works like a review, and it certainly gives that mileage to people. There can be online reviews. There can be like the 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 particular, I mean, print media, uh, covering it in their news articles, is again an earned media where the company is not spending, right? And also the mentions and shares are all earned media, right? When I view I mean, an ad of a Tata car, I may like the advertisement, then I may comment on it. So all this would be the earned media. So the fourth step in the advertising campaign planning, which is the allocation of budget, uh, estimate creation cost of the advertisement has to be worked out by the agency or the advertiser, and the running cost of the advertising campaign. You prepare the advertisement, the cost incurred, and airing of it regularly. So the cost involved. Now, how do you decide on this? Maybe you take some historical records, or you may see like what amount. I mean, you can decide on or calculate how much the competitors are spending, and how much of what do you call um, uh, the how much airtime the competitors are using. You calculate based on it. You may allocate a budget either higher or lower than that. We call it the share of view, or share of voice. Sorry, the share of voice uh, in the market, and how much do you have to allocate in order to have a better presence or a greater presence or a greater awareness of the customers. So you decide how much to spend. Based on your goals, also you need to decide how much budget you require for the number of exposures you are planning to make. So now, what is the media consideration here in this particular stage? The market should have a concrete total layout, total outlay of budget for a proposed campaign. Now, the marketer should have allocated total outlay and then divide it to each of these media platforms. And once the budget is allocated, then they allot it to the various above the line and below the line advertising. The media budget basically determines the reach and frequency. How many people needs to get this exposure and how often do they have to get exposed to this message in order to be aware, in order to be convinced about the product and make a decision and the conversion to happen. Okay. The goals must have a linkage to the purpose, like we talked about the objectives in the evaluation stage. That is the first stage in advertising campaign planning. Then the audience who you have to reach. Well, the fifth stage is actually the formulation of the media and the creative strategy. Formulation of media and creative strategy, wherein you select the, you opt the media plan, like whom, where, and what medium to prefer, and you need to have the knowledge of the customer, like where the customer is available at, um, mostly where you can reach the person, reach that particular target. You must also know the usage habits, like how do they use, how often do they use. Based on it, you can even decide your media strategy. The creative strategy requires you to decide on when to say, how to say, and what to say, um, based on the brand imagery. Um, and finally, you'll have to decide on the what we were talking yesterday, the theme, the message, the appeal, and the tools and the timing of the ad campaign, the advertising attempts to reach your target customer. Uh, After this, you would go for the pre-testing of the ad that you have designed and created. You assess how the ad performs on the basis of likability, persuasion, and the conviction and belief that the brand can create. uh, if the when you go for this testing and you get to know the customers or the prospects opinions, you may incorporate those changes suggested. um, Improvise the advertisement and finally launch. So when you are seeking that kind of a feedback from the from those uh, 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 from those prospects or customers who you have exposed this advertisement to get their impressions, you may go for both qualitative and quantitative impressions. You may go for a focus group if you want the qualitative uh, I mean, uh, impressions, and if you want the quantitative impressions, you can go for the surveys. Okay, and other market research tools can be used here. And the last is that is your post evaluation, where you need to check the message effectiveness. And we will be discussing more of it tomorrow when we are discussing the advertising effectiveness, to know like if this particular advertisement when exposed to the customer, there is higher sales, increase in sales or not. If it has increased due to this advertising exposure, due to this awareness campaign, or due to this persuasive campaign or not, we will check. Now, I would like to bring to you some examples in each of these stages so that you have a better or clearer understanding. The first stage, if you remember, evaluating the advertising opportunity. I would like to quote here the example of Swiggy, uh, when Swiggy faced some hot competition from Zomato, and the competition was really gearing up and heating up. That was the time when Swiggy came up with the Swiggy Genie campaign. Uh, this is what we say, like evaluating the advertising opportunity, right? Um, and bring up a very creative strategy at, on the right platform and reach it to the target customers before they actually um, switch and the competition eats you up. Okay. The second is that is defining the target group. Here we can talk about Amul, Cadbury, the advertisement we talked about, like how Cadbury was, I mean, including also the adults into their customer, not just the kids. And Amul, the way it reaches the people. See, Amul targets multiple audience segments, but it primarily focuses on the urban middle class market who value health, quality, and also the Indian values, and all those witty messages that the Amulya girl brings up to us in the hoardings uh, is something which, based on the demographic changes, the psychographic changes, is one such aspect. Uh, the third one, setting the advertising goal. Here we can talk about the example of Tata Motors when they brought the model Punch. They were targeting the this model to the urban youngsters who are about to buy their first car, and this SUV is targeted to these these youngsters in the Taiwan and Taiwan and Tier 2 cities, right? So this is like setting the advertising goal. Who do they want to reach? Uh, Talking about the budget allocation, we can talk about the example of Big Bazaar. Uh, well, um, Big Bazaar allocated a significant budget. Uh, I mean, it allocates significant budget during the seasons, particularly Diwali and Dashera, right? And they spend a lot in the newspaper inserts, right? So this is an example of the budget allocation. Um, Formulating media and creative strategy, we can talk about um, two products here. Lenscart. Lenscart used a digital first strategy, and they reached the customers on Instagram, YouTube. They banged on the influencer partnerships a lot in order to reach particularly the Gen Z uh, and the millennials. Okay. Also here, when we talk about the media, how they plan to reach the target customer, the way Feviquick was trying to reach the rural India, and uh, Feviquick was trying to reach the rural India, and they changed their general strategy and tried to reach the larger audience. We then can talk about creative strategy. We can talk about सर्फ एक्सेल दाग अच्छे होते हैं. So that दाग अच्छे हैं campaign was trying to bring a change in the social mindset of people, and it was very creative to come up with that, when to say, what to say, and how to say. Daag achhe hain is changing that concept of the parents and letting the children experiment and have the adventure in order to explore their talent and never step back because of their inhibitions or apprehensions. So, uh, when it comes to this, the last step, that is post evaluation. Uh, Here we can again talk about Cadbury, and we have been talking about Cadbury a lot. Let's talk about Nika. Nika monitors the ad campaign effectiveness uh, through the Google Analytics and also the Instagram Insights, and looking at the people's preferences, uh, and the PPC, the pay per click bids, it bids accordingly and allocates, the media planning more clearly. And Cadbury, like I said, they have gone through the analytics and understood that that particular ad they used with SRK, AI enabled ad, where the local consumers, local retail outlet names have been uh, mentioned by the AI deep fake SRK, has actually generated a lot of mobility into this product and brand enhancement, and they repeated the year after. That's for today. Thank you all. Bye bye.